Hey guys, this is video number 2 for systems of linear inequalities, and the worksheet that goes along with this is called Notes Systems of Inequalities. So make sure you have this worksheet, and we're going to go right along with this. Okay? First thing we're going to talk about is the definition of a system of inequality. So a system of inequality is, and I'm going to write down the definition for you. And what you need to be doing right now is to make sure you're writing down this definition as well on your own paper. So to start off, kind of like what a system of equations is, when we talked about two equations and trying to find a point of intersection, a system of linear inequalities is going to be two linear inequalities. Okay, we're going to write down two or more linear inequalities, but it's going to come up with the same process. Think about it as like we just did with the graphs of linear inequalities. You graph the lines and you have them, and you have the point of intersection. You're going to have something similar with this here. So a system of inequality is two or more linear inequalities, like these two lines, with the same variables being compared. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the solutions to a system of linear inequalities. And again, you want to write this down because you are going to be focused on this main idea as we learn about linear inequalities and systems of inequalities. So, solutions to a system of inequalities are all points within the overlapping shaded region. Kind of like what we were just doing with inequalities earlier in the previous video. You have to shade a region. Well, now you have two regions to think about, and we'll get into that here in the next video. But if we think about what we did with systems of equations where we have to find a point of intersection, now we need to think the shaded region that makes the inequality true. So each inequality, it can't be one, it has to be both, and we're going to talk about that both. Okay, so we have that system of equations where we talked about making both of the equations true. We want to make both inequalities true. Now with the two graphs below, we are going to be finding points on the graph that make the inequality true. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we pick one from the actual line. And there's actually an error here. It's supposed to say one of the 3 points are on that line, not on that line. That doesn't make sense. So here's the two lines. And what we're going to do is we have this shaded region inside the middle between those two lines. One, we want to make sure that if it's solid line, then it's okay to pick that line. If it's a dashed line, then it's okay to pick a point. It's not okay to pick a point on that line. So let me repeat. You can pick a point on the solid line. That works, especially for this one. Like I'm putting a dot on that line and I'm saying, okay, it's a solid line, that's okay. But also a dashed line will not work. Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. So we can use that point on the line, which is -2, 1, because it's on the line. And since we could have picked the point on the other line as well. But now we don't need to, because now we picked that one point on the line. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pick any solutions within the shaded region. So I'm just going to plot some points. So I plot about 4 points, and there's more. There's a bunch of points inside this shaded region. So I'm going to pick one of the points that I plotted, and it's 0, 1. And then I'm going to pick the other one that I plotted, and that is -1, 0. So those points are within that shaded region, and that makes the inequality true. Now we're going to look at the second graph. Again, we have another shaded region, and we have two lines. We have one line that's solid and one line that's dashed. Notice I'm going to put a point on the dashed line. Since it's a point on the dashed line, that is not going to work because it is dashed. I'm going to pick a line that is on the solid line because that is a point that will make the inequality true. Dashed lines do not work, solid lines do. So I'm going to use the point that I put on the solid line, and that is 4, -3. And then I'm going to pick any points inside this shaded region here, and so I'm just going to plot more points. Point here, point there. Here's another one. So I'm going to pick this one here, that is 1, -2, and I'm going to pick another one right over here, and that is 2, -3. So what I want you guys to do right now is to finish the next two on the bottom of the page and do the exact same thing there.